got outgained
Yep.
518 to 325. What was your biggest, observation watching the Big
Yeah,
Ten's best versus the SEC's best?
I was a little disappointed in Michigan's overall performance. I thought that they were going to come out and with the amount of time they had to prepare, have a few more answers than they did. um, but ultimately, I just don't even think this game was really that close, even from the jump, George. I mean, Georgia came out. The one thing that we talked about, and Bryce, you hinted at it too, was the amount of momentum Michigan had coming into this game. And then conversely, I think Georgia also had some momentum, but it was kind of from the opposite side of the spectrum in the negative world and self-doubt world. And everybody now, you go from basically holding the number one spot for the latter half of the football season. You lose a game against a team you're going to play again in the national championship game, and you drop all the way to 3. I think Georgia played with more of a purpose, more of a chip on their shoulder, more of an understanding with what was at stake than Michigan did from the beginning of the game. And they I think they just flat out dominated this football game. And Stetson, I'll get it right this time. Sorry, guys. I think I've been saying it right, but Dagan and Rob were giving me a hard time about that. But I was very impressed with him. Bryce, I thought that was a great toast. I thought he came out, answered the bell, and you want to talk about a guy who had a bunch of shit thrown at him basically for 4 weeks since that championship game. Everyone's talking about JT. We did it. I'll eat crow. I'll give the kid his roses. I did it. I think he came out and played phenomenal. And ultimately, I think it was just too much for Michigan. They couldn't run the football. I think that's kind of their heart and soul as an offense. They tried to do it, couldn't do it. Like I said, I think Georgia just answered the bell. And I think this is not to discredit Michigan, though. I think this is a great experience for them. And I was listening to Aiden Hutchinson's post-game presser a little bit, and he mentioned that. He said, we got us here. And I'm not a big believer in moral victories, but I think specifically for this program and Jim Harbaugh and all the messaging that happened for him throughout his tenure there, getting there is something that's good. And now it's up to them to stay there. And I think the leaders on that team really did a great job of setting the standard for the younger guys. And I expect Michigan to be around for the next few years, at least, to continue to be a big player within this realm of college football playoff, Big Ten championships. I think that they're going to be around. I think they really did a great job of setting the standard, and that goes to a lot of the older guys on that team. So I want to give them a little bit of credit too, because it was a great year. It was a great run. But they, like you said, they just ran into what I believe is the best football team in college football. So
Yeah, that what Hack is saying, Bryce, goes without. I mean, it just you got to stop and honor it. Last year, Michigan 2-4, and everybody that was wearing maize and blue has got resumes and ideas, and they got a short list of who we need to get in here to get this thing done. They buckle down. They turned 2 wins last year into 11 this year. Big Ten champs, a Heisman candidate, a top 3 defense. And they're going into the college football playoffs representing the Big Ten as a 2 seed. That is a hell of a turnaround. But also, it's the White Walkers, a team that from the kickoff when we watched them against Clemson haven't changed. And Hack's right. Alabama came in, threw some early haymakers, some late haymakers, and got them out of there in the championship game. But your biggest takeaway was Michigan's ascent up into this point, or Georgia's continued dominance throughout the season?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm probably going to talk out of 2 sides of my mouth here because I've always preached process. I love process, so I get what all you guys are saying about their ascent. The thing I don't like about just the mentality of even watching the O-linemen walk into the stadium with these aviators on and like.
For which team?
For Michigan. For Michigan, it was like watching like I don't know five guys in high school that thought they were too big and too cool to say hey to the freshmen. Like it was just such a weird mentality walking into that stadium that I felt like I would much rather have dip spit on their white Jumpman sweatsuits and a 12-pack walking in there like just ready to get dirty. And so I felt like they were just too cute. And then that really went into the entire game. They got absolutely dominated in the trenches to where, again, talking out of two sides of my mouth here on the process, at some point Harbaugh, because of it, leadership, it always trickles down from the captain here. You have to be pissed off at some point to continue to be. I don't want to say under delivering because that's not what it is. Look, they did a really good job this year, but you're Michigan. You recruit nationally. You've already been to the Super Bowl before. Like, this should be nothing to you, and you should be pissed off. There was a play when the corner for Georgia picked the ball off. It was 100% holding, should have been called. And Harbaugh's sitting there talking to the ref like he's talking to his wife, just like, hey, what happened there? And like Kirby Smart is sitting there dog cussing Stetson Bennett before the halftime because he wants the ball. Like, there's just such a different mentality, and I'm totally fine with different coaching mentalities. But at some point you have to have a little fire. To me, I think and I'm kind of calling out a Hall of Fame coach here in Harbaugh, and so apologies here because go ahead and bring it at me. But at some point, get pissed off for your guys. At some point, get pissed off at the fact that you keep you don't exceed expectations. And so I agree with you, Hack. I don't always like moral victories. This is a moral victory because you did have a guy go to New York. You did get to the playoff. You did have a lot of momentum, but then, like, dude, you got there. So now let's go win. Like, it's not good enough to get there. And I just never felt a sense of urgency from that entire sideline, even when things were going good, when things were going bad. Outside of the kickoff, like, the entire energy was just applied on that team. So I know I kind of went on a rant there, but I didn't like the way that Michigan, approached that game, even from the walk-in to, the ebbs and flows of the game. I just never felt like they cared to win.
George, let me cut in here real quick. I do agree with you, Bryce, but I think when you sit there and you look at the process, though, right? Like, take the competitive, take who you are, because I know who you are fairly well, and I think you know who I am very well. And we have similar minds and process, like, our brains function the same way when we have those types of things. But I think taking all that out of it and just looking at it, I think they did exceed expectations this year. I think that overall, Michigan needs to check this box as a great thing. They can be pissed off, and they should be. And I agree with you there. I think there should have been a little bit more of fire, especially in the middle of that game. You're down 14-0, and then there just wasn't a lot of, like, urgency and attack. Mm-hmm. And like you said, having that mentality, especially in the trenches, which was Michigan's bread and butter really for the last half of the year, where they started getting all that momentum, is they were just beating the shit out of people physically. And they were doing it in a conference that is traditionally known for being a very physical conference. They just didn't have that. So I agree with you there that at the end of the day, the letdown was the fact that they didn't bring everything that got them there. I don't think they brought that to the table. But I think to your point about being a process guy, I think when you look at the process of it, I think this was a big win for Michigan football moving forward. Now they have to continue to prove it and continue to build off of it. But I think overall, from a process standpoint, it was a big win for the boys in blue. And I have a hard time saying that because I personally have a lot of vendetta against Michigan. I'm not a big Michigan guy, but I think it was a big win for that football program and that university.
Hack, we appreciate you, wrapping your arms around a rival like that, which you've done a lot this year. You've done a lot this year. I'll give you that. Trevor, last night I texted Coach Harbaugh. It's probably like an hour after the game, and I texted him something simple: Phase 1 complete. Phase 1 of the mission complete. And it goes to what Hack is saying. They're on their back last year, 2-4. Michigan, like, even just saying the name, it's the all-time winningest program in the country, 2-4. Fist fights with Rutgers trying to get out of Jersey against Rutgers. All of a sudden now they're in the college football playoff. Hack is right. They at least have the base down. They at least have, like, their foundation down. It's down now. And Bryce is also right. But you're Michigan. So like the name is big, but inside we got a lot of work to do. To Bryce's other point, the getting pissed part on Harbaugh, Trevor, I felt like he was managing a mentality all season for his team. His two best players sit on opposite ends on defense. So they have good guys on offense. They don't really have a warlord out there. There was no like one pinnacle guy. The running back room's a committee. The quarterback room's a committee. The receivers, a bunch of like good guys, but they coached their ass off and got these guys there. But the lack of experience. And now watch this. The last 2 years, Michigan's biggest games last night, Ohio State and Ohio State. Georgia's playing in heavyweight matchups seemingly every weekend in the SEC. Cincinnati last year in the college football playoff, Bama in the SEC championship, Michigan in this college football. They've been there. So the mentality of the glasses and getting too cute, I doubt we see that next year with Michigan if they can battle their way back. I doubt that they put all the spoilers and chains and all that. I bet they leave a lot of that stuff off and put the chains on the tires and just get after it. And the last thing, Trevor, and it's going to you, mentality of coaches. When one of those two said it was like Harbaugh was talking to his wife with the refs. Kirby Smart, 3 different times on the sideline when they were wrapping the game up, kept warning his guys, I want no Gatorade bath. This is not a celebratory deal. This is a check the box game. And the last part was when he got interviewed, Kirby said, yeah, it's on to Bama. And he looks at his watch and he goes, they got a 4 or 5 hour head start on us right now. Like it was like he's setting the course, but that's also a man and a general who's had his teams in this war time. And I think you got to get like a rhythm for that. Yes, you're a Super Bowl coach, but these kids haven't been there. And the program hadn't really been there in a long time. That's a long wind up for you, Trevor, a long setup. But is mentality and experience a heavy factor in what happened last night?
Big time. You saw just from you just mentioned in Kirby Smart, you see a guy that has smelled that. They were just there in the national championship, same matchup just a few years ago. He doesn't want to make any of the mistakes they have made before. And we know those are for him personally, that locker room. But because the way that he went about this yesterday, you can tell it was just another stone on the road to the ultimate goal. Now the work starts, right? I mean, I know it's been a very long season, but now for the next several days, the work starts so that they can go out there and not walk off that field with disappointment like they felt back in 2017, I believe it was. It's time to go to work. I love the mentality behind it, the experience of where they've been and being able to permeate that through the team is invaluable to those players. Those guys are going to be ready to go, and it will be a much different football game than the SEC title game.